British science fiction TV writer. And as we now think of science fiction almost as a television genre rather than a literary genre, he seems even more important. He wrote science fiction that everybody watched.
My mother shivered at the word Quatermass. It was terrifying and very popular. Pubs emptied as record-breaking audiences tuned in. They saw stories of alien-infected astronauts and London rioting under the influence of a murderous Martian mindset.
I think it's possible that we could write off all of American science fiction as just a rather sad, imitative falling off that has nothing to do with the pure good stuff that we like. And with Nigel Neal, who I think is the most significant creator of science fiction to have worked primarily in television. By which I mean to say he's a lot better than Gene Roddenberry, Rod Serling, various other people, none of whom I'll write up entirely.
Because that's how I always kind of think of Quatermass as a kind of man of reason with a bow tie, kind of English gentleman, but a little bit of a kind of maverick.
Yes. He had a problem, and his problem was that his rocket group was going to be taken over. The great English rocket group, which of course never existed, and it was going to be taken over for warlike purposes, which he did not like. So they were going to plant rocketry on the moon.
Quatermass is always locking horns with the government. Those ignorant bureaucrats just don't understand the dangers facing us all. But Quatermass is also nervous, fearful, afraid of what forces might be unleashed by his experiments. Don't you know that the government are under the control of aliens? And these aliens, they can read your minds and your emails. And there's this complex where the aliens are getting ready and they're going to create a new world order. It's a conspiracy and they're covering it up.
There's this wonderful feeling of paranoia. When people read about the strange institutions and the weird power stations that were cropping up around the country, nuclear power was being experimented with. So there were certain areas of the country that people were sort of asked not to go to. They were rather lonely, foreboding places. Neil came out of the Second World War feeling that the cover-ups and the conspiracies, the secrets that were being held back from what was actually happening was something that needed to be uncovered. And he always considered that, again, the government were doing everything they could to hide these things, to keep them from the public.
The Official Secrets Act swung in very, very hard. In fact, I had, as a writer in the BBC, had been made to sign it. But
mum's the word. It's 50s Britain. It's a happy time, and there's a wife in every kitchen, a chicken in every pot, and absolutely no lurking, creeping horrors beneath it all.
1953 was an overconfident year, and I love the fact he was deliberately setting out to wreck the coronation and Everest. But then only a couple of years later, we'd become a much more suspicious, paranoid society, lots of strange government domes everywhere.
All this paranoia boiled up in Quatermass 2, a chilling story of brainwashed politicians and their mysterious domes, where the only zone you can visit is the alien zone. This dome is not in Greenwich, it's in an oil refinery near Colchester, and what's inside is strictly off-message, an alien hive mind.
The stuff that is really powerful is the stuff about the faceless men in those refinery suits and that fantastic refinery on the marshes, and fantastic stuff where the man falls into the food and comes down steaming.
This horrific scene in which a man has fallen into the alien goo loses some of its terror when the victim comes over all Norman wisdom.
No, no, don't touch me! No, no, don't touch me!
The corruption and alien mind control goes right to the top. The politicians are kept on message, not by a pager, but by a telltale scab on the wrist. Aliens sit on the benches of Parliament. The Queen Mother is a shape-changing lizard. Peter Mandelson was about to reveal himself as one of them, and that's why they had to get rid of him. Fortunately, the conspiracy theories in Quatermass are more subtle than this.
Oh, are you the chap with my pass? Well, I was wondering whether I might bring somebody along.
Name? Quatermass. Yes, I think that'll be in order. Thank you. You've just over an hour.
Wasn't it quite subversive to suggest that the establishment had been taken over by aliens?
Yes, I think well, they always felt they'd be the most vulnerable because of their nature, that the establishment by its very existence is open to being taken over by aliens, because some of them are halfway there anyway.
In Quatermass, we're paranoid about the government, aliens, and surveillance. But now, we're more like the people in the year of the Sex Olympics. Happy voyeurs, contented, except for one nagging question. Were the people who came first the losers? Coming up, more good old British paranoia in the 60s TV show, The Prisoner.